anybody else who walked away from this feeling a little empty, a little unsatisfied, feeling like you sat there playing context clues to end up with no real payoff? Was there anybody else who felt like you just wasted 7 hours that you probably can't get back? But it's okay. At least you and I, we know officially what a dumbwaiter is. Everybody knows what a dumbwaiter is now. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss The Watcher. Now this is a brand new miniseries available on Netflix and it stars Naomi Watts. Now before we get into all things, is the house cursed? Who exactly was the Watcher? Was it the entire neighborhood? Was it a singular person? I don't know. I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that and then we're going to come back and discuss. If there's one thing Ryan Murphy knows how to do, he can make a really good, enticing trailer. Whoever makes that trailer together to get me all motivated and so ready and willing and waiting to watch this show, I was hyped to end up with what we got. Talent.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this show. Now, I was previously familiar with the story of the Watcher and the New Jersey home being purchased. You know, this innocent, well-to-do family receiving these intense, ominous, anonymous letters to not only inform this family that I'm watching you, but I know some of the inner workings of your house. I know your names. I know your whereabouts. This is a stalker. This is a problem. We moved to New Jersey for peace, purchased this expensive home, but now it's anything but, and we have to deal with this obsessed stalker who is clearly obsessed with not only our family life, the inner workings of this home, but making us feel everything but safe by sending us these really strange letters. Now, being familiar with the story, when I saw that this was based on that, I was like, what all are they going to do? Not that that situation was at all a good time, like that was a horrible experience for that family. Nobody wants to feel unsafe, but at the end of the day, they, couldn't find out who the Watcher was. The police wasn't really much help. They hired a PI. Eventually, they sold the house and they pretty much moved on. That's not enough to build a whole mini-series off of, but no, this is coming to us from Ryan Murphy, and this is the basis of it. I was like, oh, they are gonna build. This is the perfect opportunity to not only build an entire world around this case, but dramatize, fabricate, add additional characters, which is what they did. About 85% of the things here in this mini-series and the people that exist here never actually happened. The real family had absolutely no involvement with the making of this show. The neighbors, their storylines, every single thing was fake, strictly just to add intensity. All the cult-like feelings, the previous neighbors, that erratic behavior, the murders that supposedly happened in the house, just the overall unsettling feeling of the house in general never actually happened. Even the previous couple who lived there before they sold it to the family that this is based on lived there happily for decades. The only things here within this miniseries that probably coincided with the real life story were things like the police, their lack of involvement, taking the situation serious, the whole situation taking a toll on the couple's marriage and them really trying to get themselves out of that situation so that they can be sane. The wording and the way that the Watcher wrote and used the letters towards the family, the house, knowing their names, the need for young blood. These are things that were actually said in the actual letters. And lastly, just the mere existence of the letter making it really hard for the family to eventually sell when they just didn't want to be bothered with the house at all. Outside of those few things, everything here is basically fictional. Is that a problem? Absolutely not. This was a great situation to build on. Everybody's worst fear is just feeling unsafe. Not only just feeling unsafe as an individual, but feeling unsafe and unable to protect your family. There was so much to do with that. Did this miniseries accomplish that? Now, right away, my initial problem with this show was the pacing and the tone. Just the story overall. This show really felt like it didn't know exactly what it wanted to be, and we continue to change the tempo, the level, the vibe every single 5 seconds. Coming off of Dahmer and what, Evan Peters and Ryan Murphy was able to do there, I felt like Dahmer was so exceptional. And just Ryan Murphy being Ryan Murphy, he puts out some really quality stuff. My expectations for this show were maybe a little bit too high. I don't care. I expected more. But what I felt like we got here, me being a really big fan of American Horror Story, there was so many hints of Murder House, the first season of American Horror Story, and it was like we wove that into the Watcher situation to make this miniseries. The pacing was just consistently extremely off. At times it felt like it wanted to be a horror story. Other times it was just simply a little unsettling with this, dark humor, these dark undertones. Other times it's borderline boring, a little slow paced, and I'm having a hard time just simply even getting into the show. And then after that, we are getting into some old-fashioned whodunit clue-like mystery. Pick something. It's unfortunate when one of the major things that I liked about the show was its tone right off the bat. I love the presence of Mia Farrow here. Eventually seeing her in the tone that this show was going for really reminded me of Rosemary's Baby. Everybody, surrounding you, being in on something that you aren't aware of. That feeling of going crazy, that feeling of knowing what you saw, but everybody around you trying to justify it as something else. Not being heard, feeling unsafe, unsecure, not only for yourself, but for your child. There were some things here. That recurring theme of protecting your family, not feeling safe anywhere, no matter where you go. The woes of marriage, the city versus the suburb, the city being that non-stop grinding machine where you are always working, trying to strive for more, not only for yourself, but for your family. And once you get it, the things that you have to do to maintain it, just to end up with peace. I just want peace, quiet, tranquility, room for my family to grow. But striving for that is taking a toll on my family, my work life, my relationships with people, and my marriage. Now, was this family, living all high and mighty? Could they have lived way below those means? Absolutely. But we are just, equating this to everyday people. This could have been really relatable. But what we got here was a gumbo pot of a lot of things that ended up feeling like we dealt with everything to get to eventually nothing. Now, for starters, I feel like this show would have really benefited if it felt a little bit more grounded in reality. Not that, this isn't surrounding real people, but the way that we have everybody act in this show, the decisions and scenarios that happen, the way that they interact and talk with each other, nobody here feels like a naturally real person. This whole show felt weird. It felt like some off fever dream. Ended up actually having no real payoff, because after watching the entire series, it's almost like the writers are telling us, everything that you saw with your own eyes for this, 6-hour journey, just negate that. It was never that. These neighbors were never this way. They're, strange, crazy, berserk, obsessed-like behavior was, just them loving the house. Like, it was like, no, we are not going to do that. The tone that they set, probably with those first 3 to 4 episodes, in the way that those neighbors were behaving, the constant watching, the constant don't do this, that, and the third. Once you finish everything, I feel like it's pretty, solidified that there wasn't ever any singular watching person. The person who was the watcher was the entire neighborhood. Everybody was in on this. Everybody surrounding this one particular 657 property has this obsession with preserving everything in, its current state. We have to hear 150 times about the dumbwaiter and the wood and the oak and this. Oh, nobody, today takes any real value in things that, hold history. Why are you remodeling? Why are you changing stuff? You mean to tell me everything that the journey we went on was all because these people were just that obsessed with this house. But what about everything else? Did this house not have some type of curse, some type of hold over these people to be that obsessed with it? Not only just them, the people who were, in this neighborhood. Oh, I've been here for decades. I was raised here across the street. We love 657. But what about the family who just moved into the neighborhood? What about the father, Dean? He instantly becomes really obsessed with the house to where he is not only doing that, but writing his own letters. We see, after it's all said and done, he's returning to the house. He's constantly watching. He even, went out of his own way, even though it was for his own motives, to write his own letters the way that the Watcher was writing letters to the family. Like, in the end, he becomes really, really not only obsessed with the case and figuring out, who duped them. I failed. We need to figure this out. He was naturally obsessed with the house, just like everybody else was by the time he left it. Why were these people that obsessed? Why did, the realtor hold that particular house to such a standard that she wanted it for herself? What was it about that place? But they treat the house in the series as if it's just a normal house, and that the people who are obsessed or in connection with this house, owed to a house, this old teacher, all of these people who are a part of this dark homeowners association preservation cult ass group that they still, treat as really normal, are, maybe going through the tunnels, planting seeds, doing different little things to the people who occupy the house to maybe get them to leave, because they are trying to change things once they actually move in. But did the house not possess some type of control? As soon as we have the family move in, the teenage daughter in Dean, he is instantly overly obsessed with her sexuality, the way that she is presenting herself. He is talking about her growing up too fast, wearing lipstick, hounding her constantly throughout the show to where her behavior changed, when, it's already stated that he was never that before they moved into the house, especially before he's even met the John that, plants the seeds to, watch your daughter, who was supposedly, killing his whole family in the house, which never happened in the first place. And the whole lipstick, like, nothing was making sense. I was trying to connect dots and there weren't any there, to how we can have the family taking on the fictional traits from the family that was supposedly murdered in the house that never actually existed. As soon as they get there, not only do we have things taking place with the dad and the daughter, but the mother, as we saw just in the show, period, there's this obsession with the women in that little New Jersey suburb. Like, oh, I'm just trying to get some sex. Oh, I need an eggplant. I need some dick. Oh my God, I'm trying to fuck. Oh, like, she constantly, wants to engage sexually with her husband, and she is equating that to, something being dysfunctional within their marriage, or maybe, him cheating. We have the same thing happen with the fictional, like, it just wasn't making any sense, because everything that supposedly went on was contrived and, planted by the outsiders who are obsessed with the house. But that doesn't explain the family's behavior. Like the daughter's instant irrational behavior, the TikTok and whatnot, because she can't be with Dakota, or, how she decides to treat her dad. It was like they were being possessed by the house, but this is just a normal house, right? With all of these passageways for the home association society to creep in and, do all of these things to scare people away. But in the meantime, we have other things that just felt simply contrived, and they didn't really mean anything. Like, why do we have it to where, oh, this is just a normal house. Oh, this didn't actually happen. Oh, this was a setup for you to get us out. When we have the behavior changes, not only do we have the daughter being a little bit more sexually, free, sending pictures, hiding boys in the closet, wearing lipstick, but she instantly kind of pounces on Dakota. Not with that being the only issue, but there's this big issue with the age difference, him being 19 and 16. There's this whole running theme of this predatory type thing within the series, and it took you nowhere. Not only do you have that, even though in the series it's like, well, that's the legal consent, in New Jersey it's fine, it's nothing, but it's considered predatory by, the families or, some whatever standards. We also have the family that supposedly never existed and was opted by the dad, who cut all of his, images out of all the pictures to go into hiding just to come back to taunt Dean. His daughter is, slow dancing and being a bit predatory with, the teacher who's there, who's clearly older. And then we have the older guy who was always obsessed with the house and started the old to the house thing, who eventually married and got together with one of his young, high school students. Like, I wasn't understanding. It was like it was all for nothing. There were just things out there just to be out there. Now, when we don't have things going on in the show that I feel were, cop-outs, cheap thrills, and contrived, like the whole situation with the creepy older couple across the street, supposedly, offering themselves to just come back and be like, oh, it was just our crazy son who's in a mental place now. He was trying to collect insurance money. Like, that was so whack. The whole thing happening with them possibly being, bloodsuckers, cults, like, I was even here for some of that, because when he is sitting in the car and he looks like, did we not just have a funeral for the both of you? What the is going on? I was interested in those moments, but it's like they undermine them and snatch them right back and replace them with something that is not, equally great. Speaking of that, we have them kind of giving away the plot constantly with a lot of our characters, especially Jennifer Coolidge, the best friend realtor. I'm your best friend, and our best friends. Like, that whole best friend realtor situation, like, I think we all pretty much knew that she didn't like her from the very first episode. Like, the way that she was just so hungry for her to, like, oh, you want to sell? You want to sell? Are you interested in another house? Like, there was always clearly that there was an ulterior motive there. So when it's kind of unveiled, it's not really that surprising. Not when we have her constantly planting seeds, insinuating things about the husband, suggesting, maybe cheating, divorce. Oh, girl, you could get like me. She was clearly, envious of her friend and, what she had. And she wanted to not only break her down and leave her with nothing, but she wanted that house too. Those things, really didn't do anything for me. We already start with the pacing being off from the movie, because as soon as the family moves in, it's, unsettling, real vibes from the neighbors, all of these, incidents to where, oh, there's somebody in the house. Everything that's saying turn back, return to sender, do not live here. And, we continue to have the family to live here. But it's all supposed to be under the umbrella that, oh, we just put so much into this house. This is our last. But at the same time, we have them, paying outlandish amounts of money for security, getting a hotel. Like, it wasn't making sense the way that they were moving, even down to us getting to the point of them turning on each other, or more so the wife so easily turning on the husband. We have this whole running theme of bankruptcy and them not really trusting each other. That was okay, even though I wish that we could have had a more natural build up to the neighbors acting freaking bonkers, and we didn't have so many red flags for the family and just have them kind of look like idiots, just so eager to move into this place where there is clearly something wrong. But when we introduce characters like Theodora, her and her gloves, like, just playing on our intentions, and it could have been executed so smart. But when they decided to undermine Theodora, which I thought was a pretty creative portion, I felt like all of us as an audience, we were giving Theodora, just like the family, the side eye in the first place, just to say, how much are you involved? Are you in cahoots with everybody else in this town trying to get us to flee the house? And her mission to do this big thing, to solve this big mystery before, she passes away from cancer. And maybe her creating the ultimate, mystery for herself to solve, along with the love and obligation for whatever transpired in her life for her to feel like she needs to live in this house like everybody else. I thought that was so smart. I was like, wow, this is really nice plot device that a lot of us probably saw coming, but the way that they did it in the portion of the movie that they decided to implement it was pretty creative. The way that she just wove herself into every aspect and inconsistency of the story throughout the house with the family, every incident, the evidence, I thought that was really creative. Just as I thought, when we have Dean, he has to leave the house because the wife thinks that he's, cheating, the whole situation where the pigtails girl, when he sees old boy that was in his face acting erratic, oh, here are the letters, I was, codependent on these drugs, my wife, she's gone, my son, the whole cult, the blood on the finger, oh, it's just too much, I can't take it. But when he sees him just acting happy-go-lucky, running in slow motion, like he's a paid actor, he's in a commercial, that was so great. It, built up so much suspense, but then we undermine, and it's just like, yeah, everything I told you was true. I'm an actor. Get out of here. Like, what? It just, everything that they built up to give us payoff didn't give us any in the end. As soon as we got to a certain peak, they undermined it and snatched it back and gave us something way less interesting. So when we have really great moments like the family finding the secret passageway and somebody's been able to get into the house the whole time, we snatch it back when we have Dean go to the door and, I heard a sneeze. There's somebody in the house, and he's hiding out the entire time. It was just completely weird, but it was weird for weird's sake. It didn't really serve a purpose or take us anywhere with any narratives with the story. All we have is really weird neighbors who are all equally obsessed with this house because they just love it so much, even though it looks like there is some type of curse or possession in the house that is causing people to act this way and have this effect, because we have the family act the same way. The way that we have Naomi Watts' character act in the end when she is leaving the house to her best friend, and it's just like, I'll be watching. There's this running theme of people saying I'll be watching. Like, it just wasn't good, and I was like, damn it, I wasted time. I thought this show was going to be really, really great, but we just have situations like, the whole filler situation with Dakota, or the whole filler situation with Karen. Like, her name was Karen. Of course it was Karen, because she was a Karen. Like, it just wasn't a good show, and I felt like I maybe expected a little bit more. With the great director that we had here, the great acting, the really great unutilized cast, and even with that, a lot of the performances that we got here, like with the, the police captain, the role that he was playing, there were just so many levels that could have went somewhere and ended up going nowhere. And I just, my expectations were a bit too high, but it's okay. Lesson learned. I will not be watching The Watcher again. Well, you guys, that was my review for The Watcher. I hope you enjoyed it. I had to cut this short because I could have went on forever with things that were just things that make you go, about the show. Not a good, like, why that decision? Why that there? What was that supposed to do for us? What are we supposed to do with it? Okay, she doesn't trust her husband. We're ending off with him being obsessed with the house, and there's still not being really any trust within their marriage. Yeah, just get the divorce and move on. But I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please share this video if you care. I see you guys next time.